Be doing there?
We're going to be disinfecting, literally, common areas in the buildings.
What do you mean by that? Common areas in the paint the picture for me.
I mean, we can go through all that in the interview if you like.
We can. Oh yeah. I mean, we live now. We now round up. What's going down? I pray my rounduppers are alive and well. Nobody's dying. I'm just getting back from being on a plane, traveling. You know, it's weird, man. I'm like, I feel good, but I'm like, am I sick? Do I feel, I'm like, I don't feel sick. I mean, I feel like my mind is just swimming, Daniel, with so much
You
junk.
know what, man? If going through what you just went through with that trip to Dallas, and I'm telling you only from my own personal experiences. And then you're probably not sleeping well. Then on top of it, you're thinking about everything that you want to ask, and you're constantly reviewing and going over in your mind, you know, playing different scenarios of the interview. If he says this, I'll say that, and vice versa. And then it's all finally done with, and then you're thinking back like, oh, I should have said this, or I should have said that. And then you get on this plane and you're back home with your wife and your kids, and it's right back to the daddy mode.
Daniel.
So, Ray, it could probably take you about 2 days to settle down, right?
Golly, man, it's just unreal.
Tonight, I just said makes sense, right?
It does. My head's spinning, man. I'm like, am I sick? Why don't I get my family sick? I don't feel sick. I mean, do I need to go get a hotel? So Daniel, tonight, yes. Roundup family tonight. I'm just going to be hanging out with Daniel for a little while. He is a real estate entrepreneur. He's been doing this since the 1980s, but I would dare to say that you have never experienced anything like this.
You know, Chris, first, I didn't get that link from you.
Oh, I sent it. Yeah. Refresh your YouTube joint.
You sent the YouTube, or you send it
I sent the YouTube link for you can paste that in your Facebook.
I don't know, did you send me the email? Because I'm not seeing it.
I sent it to you. Let me make sure.
And is this going live on Facebook?
Mm-hmm. I sent it to you. You got the link for YouTube.
Yeah,
you might have to refresh it again, but it's there. Daniel. Yep. I sent it to the same email address that I sent the invitation to.
Check this out. You can get that. If you don't mind, just resend it.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, I got it.
It take a minute since it's all live and everything. What I'll do is I'll tag you so you'll have it here. Hold tight, everybody. I just want to give everybody your background, Daniel, so they know why the hell they should listen, well, why I listen to you, and why they should listen to what the hell you got to say. You know what's going on. Daniel, you've been doing this forever. You are verified. I mean, you're in my mastermind. We meet up. Matter of fact, hopefully we'll be putting that together for my Roundup family. But Daniel, when I have a problem or something like a big decision, I call Daniel because the man's been doing this forever and he's got a lot more tenants than I do, right? So Daniel, I want to just talk about just your thoughts process on leading up to this and your past. Have you seen anything like this? Thanks for joining me, brother.
Oh, man. I got to tell you, man, I would say it's a privilege, but it's always great talking to you. And it's, as much as I may think sometimes I know what I know, I always learn from you as well.
Yeah.
Having said that, no, I haven't experienced this, man. I've been doing this since 1989, and I've got to tell you, I've experienced downs, but I haven't experienced a down in the market, whether it be the stock market or the real estate market, as a result of a situation like what's occurring now. So having said that, I think I'm taking more of a sitting back and evaluate approach before I make any decisions on which direction I'm going to go in. I can tell you that, it's times like this where the multimillionaires are made.
you say multimillionaires regarding the stock market or regarding the real estate market? Which one do you think?
I don't care what business you're in. If you're a professional within the business line that you're in, and you're not making tons of money by positioning yourself the right way in this particular environment right now, you
You're in
you might
trouble.
as well work a 9 to 5 for someone else, man.
Yeah, I'm just like, let me ask you, Daniel, are you in the stock market at all? Being a real estate guy?
I am. How do I? Not as much as I am in the real estate side, and I'll tell you why. The only monies I've ever put into the market are monies that I was able to tax defer, either through 401ks or through pension plans that we set up for the company, or IRAs. I'm not a fan of giving my money to somebody else and hoping they make the right decisions, and that's primarily why 90% of my revenue comes from real estate. I control my thing.
I hear you on that, bro. I hear you on that. I mean, I think, anyway, we'll get to that later. But what I wanted to, and we can talk about the valuetainment thing too, man. We can go back and forth, Daniel, whatever you want to know. We can do real estate. And my thing is just business in general, right?
Right.
So you got your tenants up there. I'm concerned about a moratorium on foreclosures or people not wanting to pay rent, people actually getting sick, can't pay rent. Tell me where your thoughts are going regarding all the doors that you own, brother.
Well, that's one of the that's going to be one of the approaches where we're going to take a step back, evaluate, and then decide how we're going to confront that problem. So it's funny. So I'm constantly keeping an eye on what's going on, anything to do with the real estate market. And let me just say this: what I've come across in the past 2 days. So I actually primarily invest in New York, New Jersey, and in Florida. So right now in New York, the governor has sped up the unemployment insurance application, where you would normally have to wait 7 days before you could apply. He's eliminated that 7 days, so you could apply immediately. He's well, again, and this is all what's coming out of his office. How true that is, no one really knows, right? Until you actually experience it. He's also supposed to have streamlined the application process so that your checks start coming sooner. And then in DC, I'm not sure if you know this organization, the National, I actually wrote this down earlier, National Multifamily Housing Council, where basically a lobbyist group that, tries to lobby on behalf of people like ourselves, right? And they're working closely with the Congress, where they actually had some input, apparently, from what I've read, into the bill that was passed through the House on Saturday and was sent to the Senate on Monday. And the Senate just passed that bill today, and now is sending it to the president for his execution on his signature. Having said that, that bill has a lot in there. So they're going to have economic relief bill, right? And it provides, of course, for people that are sick. It's also going to provide some small business administration loans. But the one that concerns you and I the most is that they want to provide direct payment, or they're trying to get direct payment, because you never know what the bill's going to finally be until it's finished signing, right? Where they're going to send direct payments to the landlords themselves for anyone that fits within those categories. Having said that, you and I are going to have, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I expect it's going to be relatively soon. We're going to have tenants giving us a call saying that they can't pay next month's rent or the month after.
It's coming, right? It's coming.
So the question is, what do you do? I have a partner, my brother David and I, and we constantly discussing these things, and we're constantly, revamping our rules and our regulations and our procedures within ourselves, our own organization. And so one of the things that we do is I don't take anybody that can't afford to fall on bad times as a renter, right? So if you're living check to check and you can have the best credit, and I have an applicant that's got his credit may be a 600 or 650 versus yours is a 720, but he's got $30,000 or $40,000 in the bank, right? And I see there's a consistency of that savings in the bank. I'm going to go with the guy with the lesser credit, because in case he loses his job, he's got money to pay me, right? And weather the storm.
Gotcha.
The person living check to check doesn't have that opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most of my tenants do not live check to check, because that's one of the procedures that we've implemented in our own organization when we're looking at applications for tenants.
Gotcha. Hey, Daniel, real quick, how is my volume on your side? You might have to come down a little bit on my volume on your side.
You want me to bring it down?
On your side, is it loud?
Yeah, I'll bring it down if you like.
Yeah, you bring me down over there, because I'm getting a little muffled on coming through.
How about now?
That's good. A lot better. Daniel, so what you're telling me is credit is secondary when you're looking at an applicant and you're looking for cash reserves, perhaps.
Well, not all the time, right? It's an entire application, right?
Generally speaking, yeah.
Right, exactly. So I'm looking at not just the credit, but I'm also looking at the housing report. I'm looking at their length of time that they've been employed. I'm looking at their payment history to current and previous landlords. Well, I'll ask for up to 6 months of previous checks or proof of payments, right? Because if they're paying by check, I check the back. I look at the cancel check at the back, and if it says being cashed on the 15th, I don't know any landlords that hold checks for 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So that gives me an indication that they're actually paying late.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of we look at an entire application. Now, I got to say this: there's some states that you can't ask for certain information. Mm-hmm. So we go according to whatever the guidelines are for those states, right? So some states I can't interview previous landlords.
Yeah,
it's illegal. So, for instance, in New York City, we can't do that. So I don't. But in Florida, you can. So I will. You know, everything depends on within the county that you live in, or rather that I have the property in.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing I can tell you that we intend to do, anybody that does come to me with a hardship situation, is they got to prove to me they don't have the money. So, you know, I don't want to be caught up in a situation where tenants are taking advantage of the situation.
Do you foresee that happening, Daniel?
It's just in a lot of people, it's just a human nature, and they can't avoid it. Some of them can't help themselves. So gotcha. I want to make sure that I'm not that person who's getting stuck with in that situation. So, for instance, you know, you tell me you haven't had any income. Well, when did you apply for unemployment?
Gotcha.
If you tell me
you don't have
income again, I'm going to tell you, well, did you apply for these grants that are available through the bill that just passed Congress and got executed by the president? If you tell me you have no reserves, let me see I want to see, you know, your bank statement from 3 months ago. Prove to me you got no money, and then, you know, and of course it also depends on tenants' payment history and how difficult they were or undifficult. If they were good tenants, if they communicated, if they were decent. You know, there's a lot of things you can't. I don't think there's going to be a
one size fits all.
Every single tenant.
No, it won't be, because some person may be depending on their incomes. Other person maybe have 2 incomes, or a mom or a pa, depending, combining the income. Somebody might have been sick and not been able to work. I mean, it's so many scenarios, Daniel.
So many different variables that I don't think we could make. As a decent human being, I don't think you could just make a general blanket policy across the board.
It's rough, isn't it, Daniel? Because, you know, when you think about the mortgage company, I don't think I know they don't care, but I mean, are they going to be forced to? I know the majority of a lot of your stuff is not encumbered, you know, but still, are the lenders going to be required to make some type of adjustments for the borrower's obligations?
So, Chris, you know, that's I don't know, man. That's right now. Trump just, I think from what I've read briefly, he's doing an executive order where across the country he's stopping all evictions as well as foreclosures. What's the problem? Well, what's the problem with that? So he stops the foreclosure, but in the interim, your name and your credit is dragged through the mud.
But not only that, Huh?
Because it may stop the foreclosure, but that doesn't mean the bank's not going to stop going through its proceedings to get to that foreclosure, so that when the foreclosures open up again, that they're ready for you, right? In the
Yeah.
interim, that now just ruin your credit as an investor. You and I both know, man, our credit is essential.
Yeah.
You know, our credit, like our word.
Wow, man. I'm just imagining a world without foreclosure. I'm not just from a personal aspect, but that's the only way this stuff gets cleaned up, though, Daniel. I mean, that's how, from my opinion, is how the real estate market gets cleaned up and turned around, isn't it?
That was my experience in 2009 to 2015. I mean, we were doing about 165, 185 closings a year in between those years.
It's got to get cleaned up somehow, man.
And listen, it was guys like us that went in there and picked up all this inventory out of the banks and got people living it again,
Yeah, we're turning it around. We're the
Right.
ones going there doing all. Anyway, we're not here to talk about
That's
this.
an argument by itself.
Don't even get me on. Don't get round up. If you're just joining us, I'm with my boy Daniel Borrero, real estate investor in New York, in the Brooklyn area. The man owns over 300 doors, and I'm just here to get his words of wisdom. You've been doing this twice as long as me, Daniel. I want to know, how is your gut feeling regarding seeing so much over the years, but now it's like, even for a veteran like you, it's unexplored territory?
So so my brother and I so just for the people who are tuning in right now, my brother's my partner. We've been doing this since 1989 together. We've actually expected to have a big downturn, and we've been actually preparing for it the last year and a half, close to 2 years actually. So we are literally ready for this, right? Having said that, there's one thing that I wasn't ready for. I wasn't ready for instance, like in New York City, they just stopped all evictions for the next 90 days. After speaking to my attorney today, New York City's an animal to get a tenant out. That adds essentially 6 to 9 more months on a tenant's eviction.
No income.
Right.
Possible no income.
No, you're not getting any income. That's done. In the state of Florida and certain areas that we deal in, primarily Seminole County, I was just somebody just called me today and told me they just passed a similar ruling. No more evictions.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
So, and again, I'm not here to evict anyone, and it's not something I take pleasure in. Mm-mm. And I really go out of my way not to make that happen.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, sometimes that's the end result. But without that threat, there's really no incentive, right? There's not that final incentive, I should say.
Why would they pay
on the tenant's behalf? But like I said earlier, we are very difficult with our application process, and we pick tenants that we eliminate a lot of the issues with tenants that we may have that possibility with.
And so the application process.
Through the application process.
Yeah, I think that's where your tenant is made or break. As a matter of fact, to me, that's where you make or break your relationship.
Listen, I've had units where I've had 50, 70 applications for, and I won't rent them until I find the right person. Sometimes I find the right person on paper, and after I do my interview, I'm like, we're going to have a personality conflict. This is not going to work.
Yeah.
So it's better to leave the apartment or the property empty. And have a tenant in there that, it's healthier for the tenant for them to not be fighting with you. It's healthier for you not to be fighting with the tenant. It's just a better situation.
How many years did it take? I know it took me maybe 6 years to come to that realization, Daniel. How long did it take you before you made the decision of, it's better to have an empty unit? That's just the thing that we all come to.
So I was fortunate very fortunate, and I'll tell you why. My dad, he had a grocery store down in Fort Greene, Brooklyn.
Downstairs.
Yeah, and he had bought the building from, I could tell you, I'll never forget her name. Her name was Miss Delano. And it was back then, they would just hold the mortgage themselves because it was a very bad neighborhood, and banks weren't lending money back then in any bad neighborhoods. So I learned from my dad what not to do, right? So like, one of the customers would come in and say, "Oh, my daughter needs an apartment," and they, all right, take that apartment. And There was no, not in his defense, we didn't know anything. He didn't know anything. I was just a kid. And he was all constantly fighting with people to get his rent, right?
Oh
So
my.
I learned from my dad what not to do. And I also learned what to do. I learned to, one, save and invest from my dad, but I also learned how not to pick tenants. So we don't take anyone that comes recommended by family or friends. I don't rent to any family and friends.
You don't even do it.
Yeah. And then I learned by watching other people before I got into the business, successful people. So since I grew up in the store, we kind of knew all the landlords. They would come in for lunch, right, or their breakfast, and they talk to you about their tenants and their problems. And I would just they would be talking to my father, not me. I was too young.
Fly on the wall.
Yeah, but I was just listening, like you said, a fly on the wall. So when I came into the business, man, I thinking back, I probably had a lot of years of experience
before you
just listening.
Yeah.
Not knowing that I was learning. Does that make sense? I don't know.
You're crazy.
Yeah. I learned. So when people say, "Oh, you were smart," I was like, I wasn't smart. I just had a lot. I was able to listen into a lot of conversations.
You were standing on the shoulders of giants, perhaps.
Perhaps, yes. Yes.
Rounduppers. Well, let me ask you, Daniel. I know I'm not a stock guy, but I'm looking at my I missed the opportunity to get some Disney World stock, and it is down like 60%. It's down like $80 some. It was $150 last week. I'm like, are you going to be? I'm just thinking a couple 10,000 to go buy something. Are you going to be buying some more paper stuff?
So I'll tell you, like I said earlier, I don't have anything in the market other than my retirement funds. And the only reason that's in the market was because I got tax deferred.
Gotcha.
Reasons for it. There were tax incentives, right? Otherwise, I would have put that money into real estate as well.
Real estate. True real estate guy.
So about a year and a half ago, I started literally selling everything we had in stocks.
Gotcha. Getting liquid.
We converted it all into cash. And then the last little bit I did have, we got rid of it when the market dropped, when the Dow dropped to 3,000. And I just started buying back in. I'm going to start buying back in gradually.
Yeah.
And I just started buying some stuff, but I don't buy individual stocks. Listen, guys, it's not something I do well. It's not something I study. It's not my forte. So what I do is I buy the Index 500 fund, which is the largest 500 companies in the United States.
Gotcha.
And Disney's in there, Chevron, all the big companies are in there.
It's so
I'm
weird.
buying across the board. And
Gotcha.
Yeah, pretty much.
So weird. When I talk to guys like you, man, I feel like I'm talking to. You can say hello. Oh shoot! Here.
Hello.
I feel like
all your videos.
Lord, I feel like I'm talking to a friend that I've known forever. But when I talk to somebody like a Patrick Bet David, where he says, "I don't invest in real estate," I mean, it just it smacks me so hard because everywhere I go, everybody's talking about real estate, Daniel.
So you know what? I heard him say that as well. Actually, I think he may have even said that at the conference where we met in April.
Oh man, he went in on me yesterday on that. Whew.
Yeah. God, so I gotta agree with him, man. So I'll tell you something. At the time, back in 2005, I had a cell phone store. I had a video store. I had 2 laundromats.
You saying the key word, businesses. We got businesses.
We had I was operating literally over 15 ATM machines, my brother and I. 7 days a week, 12-hour days, nonstop.
So basically, I'm going to bring this around, but let me start the frame by saying you were pushing it to its highest and best.
Precisely.
Gotcha. I want to remember that. I'm going to bring that back around. Go ahead.
And I was up one night, couldn't sleep, because your mind's going a million miles. Like you come home, man, you shower, you eat. 10:30 at night, your kids are asleep, your wife's going to bed, you're the only one up, and you still revved up, right? So I was watching, I was just changing channels, and I saw some interview with Warren Buffett, and the woman asked him why does he not invest in technology stocks? It was either technology or in currency. I don't remember exactly, but he said he didn't understand it. So of course she says, well, what do you mean you don't understand? And she started rattling off all his accomplishments and his degrees. And he said, look, we'll get back to that later. And the interview was basically, he was showing her all his businesses and what businesses he's bought. At the end of the day, he was sitting in like something similar to like a 7-Eleven type of store. I don't know the name of it. He was sipping on a Slurpee. And he said he brought her back to the question she asked earlier that day in the morning. And he said, well, let me explain to you why I don't invest in technology, or maybe it could have been currency. I don't remember what it was. And he said, he goes, I understand this business, and this is why I bought 55% of the business. He goes, I understand people stop here in the morning. They get their coffee, they get their breakfast, they get their cigarettes, they get their newspaper. They come back here for their lunch. On the way home, they get their gas, they get their bread, they get their milk, they get their juice, they get whatever the other spouse called them to pick up. He goes, I understand this. And then he went on to about a mobile home company that he also bought. And he was explaining why he understands it. The same way he went into Coca-Cola and other stocks he's bought. Mm-hmm. And it just hit me, boom. And I had been, my brother and I, my father and my other brother, Derek, we had been buying together real estate for over, since 1989. And we were buying it gradually, one a year, two a year, and then we would renovate. And, then I would refinance it, take our original investment out, now let the building pay for let the building pay for a mortgage, take that money we took out, went and bought another building. Mm-hmm. And I understood it, right? And we were doing the land, and I said, why am I spending all these hours working like an animal, literally like a dog? And that day I couldn't sleep that night, and I went to my desk and I wrote out a plan. And I got to the office early in the morning, like at 7 in the morning. Didn't sleep that whole night. My brother walked in about 8. And said, this is the plan. We're out of all these retail businesses in the next 4 months. Nice. This is how we're going to do it, and this is how we're going to capitalize on getting the most amount of money we can get for it. Nice. And he looked at him and he said, it's about time. Good. Because he was the one who was pushing the issue for us to get out of retail. And it was my fear of leaving very, very successful businesses that we worked so hard to go strictly into just one side of real estate, right? Mm-hmm. But thank God we did. Our lives have changed since, and that's why we do what we do.
Good. Well, I think Patrick was more looking at real estate from a buy and hold perspective, and the man didn't. He was like, I don't even see real estate as cash flow. And I know you and me are more on the cash flow side. Could I say that about you too?
Absolutely. For me, it's all long-term cash flow. So in my business, I have 2 businesses, right? We have the fix and flips, which generate cash for me to go buy the cash flow.
Gotcha. Yeah, you got to convert it over. You know what he called that? He called that the income is offense. What you do with the money is defense. He went over a whole thing how he explained that.
Well, listen, Patrick is. Look, you and I both agree the man's amazing.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable the information he's able to retain. In my opinion, it doesn't matter what business you're in, you got to watch him.
Yeah.
But again, that's not his forte, like it is ours. Just like Warren Buffett's forte is not technology or currency, right? So I do what I know how to do best.
Yeah, man.
And that's what I'm comfortable in.
So with this virus thing, just so I can make sure I stay here for my rounduppers, because I told them that's the main thing we wanted to talk about. Do you foresee it being a little bumpy for you, Daniel, or do you foresee it kind of smoothing out over the next few weeks? What do you foresee happening, brother?
I see panicking, and you're gonna. It's funny. You see this right here? This is a HUD that I just closed on today.
Gotcha.
Picked this up last week because the guy panicked.
What happened? Tell me that story.
He, guys, they keep watching the news, and the news. What does the news sell? Disaster. That's what it sells. And he called me up and asked me my opinion. I said, listen. He goes, should I sell it? I said, I wouldn't.
What product is it?
It's a condo. It's in a place called Lakewood Park.
That's there or Florida?
It's in Central Florida. It's actually in a place. It's in Altamont Springs.
Okay.
My brother and I have got a lot of units there now. So it's literally within the same. So they have different buildings in the complex. I have 2 other units in that particular building.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people are going to panic and they're going to sell. I think the people who are going to make money are the ones with the most patience.
I got, you know what, man, I'm
Position
have to
themselves.
force myself, and I feel like I'm almost second guessing. There's much stuff. I don't even watch the news, but just walking by in the airport today, these red big talking heads, man, with the breaking news, it makes me question myself. And I know I'm doing the right thing, Daniel, but I'm not panicking. I mean, do you ever second guess yourself?
All the time.
It's crazy.
Who doesn't? Listen, I don't know any successful businessman that doesn't second guess themselves. That's part of being an entrepreneur.
Gotcha.
We're constantly second guessing ourselves, right? The one thing I do see in most successful entrepreneurs is that they're going against the grain. I tell people like Chris, what you and I do, either we're 1 or 2 people we could describe ourselves as. We are either firemen that are running into the fire when everyone else is running out, right? Or we are social workers. We're there fixing people's problems, calming their fears.
Wow, that's deep, man.
That's who we are. Think about how many living rooms have you sat in when you made a deal to buy the property.
Good God, man.
Because they were over their heads or underwater on the property, or over their heads because they over leveraged themselves.
Whatever
the reason is, we fix their problems, right? I mean, that's what we do. We're financial social workers.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy you say that. Well, I hope things work out, Brother Daniel. I can't wait to bring you back on at the beginning of April. Maybe we can kind of go over how is your stomach telling you about this tax extension for you don't have to worry about filing until 90 days after the April 15th.
So, again, for people like you and I, it really doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, I know.
Because our businesses had to file by the 15th of March, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, we have all we got to do is just add some more slightly more paperwork, and we could file on time, right? For people that are 9 to 5 that are not as organized, yeah, it's going to help them dramatically.
Gotcha.
Me personally, my rule of thumb is never ask for an extension. Always get it done on time. Make sure it's done cleanly, like everything's typed, no handwriting. You don't want to give them any reason to come looking at you.
No.
We even if they do come look, there's nothing fine because we do everything by the book. That's how I sleep well at night.
It's easy, right?
Yeah, it's still a havoc when they do come. It's time consuming. It costs money for the attorney. It costs money for the accountant.
I can't wait to share that story, Daniel. I forgot we need to do that story with the hand truck.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Talking to you makes me realize how much experience I have. To me, before meeting you at the Volt conference, to me this was just all natural, right? And you were like, "Are you kidding me? Like, not too many people have done this."
Round up, get your questions answered by Daniel Borrero over the box. The man owns over 300 doors, man. He's been doing this twice as long as me. He is one of the guys I call when I have questions. I haven't, like, this thing that's unwinding now. First guy I call is this man. He's got more tenants than I have. So he's seen more stories, more ups, more downs. So I'm like, the man knows what he's doing. See, I think we did have a question come in. Oh, yeah, somebody. Stay free from the viruses. Dragon, thank you for your love offering, my friend. Thank you, brother Dragon.
Listen, I gotta just tell people the one thing I highly recommend is not to panic.
Be calm, yeah.
You make bad decisions when you're scared.
Are you making any decisions now, Daniel? Action decisions, that is.
I really am. I'm not even. No, I'm not. I got to tell you one thing I'm doing. One thing I am doing is reconnecting with people I haven't spoken to in a while.
Such as?
I'll give you an example. So the past few days, everyone's scared to leave from anywhere, right? But everyone's working remotely from home, but you're still able to get access to these people. So I actually got had 4 of our properties requoted on insurance policies. The savings is going to be about $14,000. I'm only able to do that because I'm spending so much time at my desk and I'm not in the field and I'm not driving for dollars and I'm not out talking to people and neighbors. So, guys, there's still money to be made sitting at home. And just because you're not in your car, you're not hustling out in the street, because that's where the real money's at.
The streets.
Now you got to get back to your desk and you could organize yourself. Again, reach out to people that you haven't spoken to in a while. I just got I'm expecting a contract tonight or tomorrow from someone that I reached out to that I haven't spoken to in about a year. And she says, Dan, I should have thought about you. I got this situation from a seller with this property. Would you be interested in it? I know it's a community you like to buy in. I don't know why I didn't think about you.
Nice.
And I said, sure. You have the photos? She said, yeah. Now I know that complex, all the apartments in there like the back of my hand. It's a condo unit. And I know the HOA manager, how efficient she is. So I gave her a number. To be honest, I didn't think they were going to take it, but she took it. She's sending me a contract tonight.
We never do. Right.
So, yeah, you're home, right? You're even if you have to stay within the confines of your home, you could still make money. Shop your expenses. Become, fine tune your business with your paperwork. Become more efficient. Procedures, processes, right? Reach out to individuals you haven't spoken to. Our biggest asset in this business is relationships. Networking.
Your network is your network. So let me ask you, Daniel, before we went on, as we were coming on, you told me you were doing some type of disinfecting and cleaning in some of your buildings.
So we started on Monday. The guys are going back on this Monday as well. And we started disinfecting the properties. So first thing I did was send out letters to all my tenants on proper procedures on how not to contact this virus, as well as how not to spread it. And then what we started doing was when I suspected something like this may happen, so we bought a few cases of bleach.
When did you buy that, Daniel?
Say that again?
When did you buy that?
About a month and a half ago.
Oh, man, you're on the ball.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, in New York, are the shelves sold out?
It depends where you go. So, like, if you go to Home Depot, you're not going to get no disinfectants there. Even paper towels, you're not going to find.
Gotcha.
But if you go to the smaller shops, you'll find them.
Pay more, but you get it. Okay.
So, so we had our guys in there, wiping down, bleaching all the banisters, the walls, the mailboxes, anywhere that people possibly could touch. The front doors.
So almost like you're setting a presence there for people that are coming and going, not only cleaning it, but the presence that, hey, we're mindful of what's going on.
Absolutely. And, that creates a lot of goodwill with your tenants.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Because you're not about there just give me my money, right?
Yeah.
So, and then it makes them actually feel guilty if they can't pay you, believe it or not. It really does. I can't tell you how many thank you cards I get when I get checks in the mail for rent. I mean, they're thanking my family and I, Listen, I got to be out. My sons, they're away at school, but come summertime, they're working on the properties.
Mm-hmm.
And so they see the entire family's working, right?
Gotcha.
It doesn't matter, although they're my sons, they start at the bottom just like I did. You pushing them up, you're sweeping, you're holding a rag and you're swinging a hammer and bringing down garbage when we're doing demolition.
Well, it's teaching them adversity. I mean, you can't just come in based on who you are. You got to kind of learn the business.
Precisely. Yeah. And that starts from the bottom.
Good for you, Daniel. Smart. We'll talk about, man, you got so many topics. You got 4 different topics that I just remember we could just do a whole training on. Round up, get your questions in. Chris Birch, what up? My boy up in Maryland. Dan, he wants to know financial question. He knows you own hundreds of doors. What is your average cost on each door? I'm presuming mortgage loan. Average cost. I don't know. I'm not understanding that one. Maybe he wants to know what you owe on the average. What do you owe on each door?
So it all depends, right? If that, listen, we all know cash is king, right? So the way we're able to get deals that I outbeat other investors from is because I'll come in and I'll say, it's contingent on nothing. I'll close it as soon as title's ready.
No contingencies. You can't beat it.
Right. But it all depends where the property is, right? Sometimes I'll say, no, I need a 7-day inspection period, 10-day. It all depends on the numbers. So in Florida, my cost factor is anywhere between 70 and 110,000 per door. That could go up to 140 if it's a townhome. I try to stay with the condo units because it's just a lot easier to manage from a distance. In Jersey, it's about the same number. I stay away from the one-family properties because it's just too encumbersome. I found that it takes too much time. So it takes as much time to do a one-family as it would if I had 6 condos in one building, right?
Wow.
So, and then in New York, it's a different animal because New York, we got to go with mortgages there because you're not pick. I mean, a 2-family house in a half decent neighborhood's $1.2 million, $1.3 million. Well, you were here. I showed you around. You know what I'm talking about. So that it all varies depending on to the region. I guess the response is. So.
Chris also wants to know how long can you go with no rents coming in, Daniel?
How long could anyone go, right? My family and I, we could weather the storm a lot longer than most because we
average investor.
Right. We purchased these properties way back when. And we, and again, like I said earlier, we started preparing ourselves 1.5 years to 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we could weather the storm. That doesn't mean I'm gonna weather it willingly. No, I'm gonna fight. I
was just thinking that today. I could go. Shit. I could build a house with a hammer, but I don't want to.
Precisely. Look, we do what we got to do. Hopefully, listen. Like I said in the beginning of this, the thing is to position yourself. Mm-hmm. So first, you have to educate yourself. So all your followers, that's what they've been doing is educating themselves, right?
Yeah, come in here.
Right, and then the second thing you got to do is financially prepare yourself, or do it simultaneously while you're educating yourself. And be patient for the situation we're in right now, because there's going to be a lot of opportunity, a lot.
Yeah, I'm ready, man. I'm so ready.
Yeah. So, do you want to be the person running out of the fire, or do you want to be the person running into the fire?
I feel like I got the slingshot. I'm like, just ready to just let it go. Daniel, how about you?
Chris, man, I can't wait, man.
Yeah, something.
I've kind of been bored the last 2 years. There's been no excitement in the business because we haven't been doing many flips because the numbers weren't there.
Yeah.
And I'm like ready for the excitement again, man. I'm ready for my adrenaline to be running 24/7.
Ready to pounce. Chris Birch wants to know, Dan, are you excited to keep buying more? Oh, he just said that. He said, yeah. He literally just said that.
I am, but I'm discounting everything. And anybody out there in the business has to assume the market's going to get worse. So whatever you buy today, even if it's 30% of what it was a month ago, you shouldn't buy it. You got to discount that another 20 to 30%. And if they don't take the offer, walk. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares, right? But I think, Dan, your posture and your attitude and your ideology has come with, I just feel like you have these layers of years upon years and years and years. The new investors, they want that deal so bad. It's just kind of hard for them to say, I don't. For me, I'm like, man, I don't need it. I'm like, look, I'm gone. Right? Is that your attitude?
You know what, Chris? It is. And I got to tell you, you're probably going to agree with me because you've done a lot of units. So I find that deals I've walked away from, when they come back to me, are the deals that I've made the most money with.
Yeah, they come back around.
Yeah.
You're not BSing people,
Right.
This is what I can do for you, and I can do it right now.
Precisely. And then they go out there and they do, I heard this and I heard that. And all right, well, if it doesn't work out for you, let me know.
There you go.
Right.
Stay in your position.
Yeah, just it's because it's for you and I. It's not an emotional thing; it's a money thing. It's all about if the numbers don't make sense. The numbers don't make sense.
But when I look at you, Daniel, I feel like you have this like a picture of Santa Claus with the big bag and the big bag of gifts. All of these houses, like you're carrying around. It's figuratively. You're just carrying around all these experiences that has made you who you are today. You know, I can't see them, but I'm like, I know they're there.
They are, and I got to tell you, Chris, I never thought there was much value into it until I actually met you. And I should have, because I listened to some of these people online, and I hear what they're saying, and I'm saying to myself, you know, they're hurting. So they got 10 properties, and all of a sudden they become a professional, but they've accumulated the properties in the last 4 years or 5 years, and I'm like, God, that doesn't make you a professional. You know, like it does not. If you're not doing this 24/7, look, there's not a time I get in my car. It doesn't matter what city I'm in. And I'm sure you experience the same thing, Chris. You're like this, right? You're constantly looking, right? Like you're constantly looking for sale signs by owner. You're looking for the property that has a tarp on it, or the property that has all the garbage in front of it, right? Or that's not kept well. And you're like, let me go knock on that door. And,
my wife won't even ride with me. She's like, you never look at the freaking road.
No.
She's like, look at the road. I'm like, man, it's so much. You know, I walk out of my front door of my house. I'm like, this country is just loaded full of wealth everywhere you look.
You know what? It's just if you're trained to look, or if you train yourself to look, right?
What you're looking for.
Right. So, and that's a wonderful thing about the internet. If I had this podium available to me,
wow,
when I started in 1989,
good gracious,
oh my God,
do something right. Isaiah Stover, what up, Isaiah? Hey, let's go over rent on subject 2. Will it be recession proof? Isaiah, I'm presuming he bought a house subject 2, Dan, and he's concerned about rents coming in, which we all are.
You would probably be better qualified to answer that, because you have a lot more of those than I do.
Well, the thing is, subject 2, it's irrelevant how you bought it. You still got to get rent from somebody. Right. And as much as I get on my soapbox, I think I'm recession proof based on my rents. Nobody's recession proof when it comes to this virus. I promise you. If they say they are, I don't think they'll be telling you the truth, because I'm sure Daniel would say, you know, my tenants still got to pay rent. When you got the government telling them they don't, yeah, you think again. You think again.
Yeah, it's a scary situation.
Yeah,
but listen, it's a scary situation that we're going to get through. Now it's a matter of who weathers the storm.
There you go. Yeah, I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I mean, I've been preparing, paying down. I've been paying off mortgages. Like, man, I knew. Anyway, we'll get to that later. Isaiah, good question. Bobby, he wants to buy subject 2. That's right. Sell on. Well, if you sell on a wrap, you still got, man. They still got to pay you a monthly payment. If they ain't going to work, they ain't paying. They can't pay. They don't have the money to pay.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. You have to, just because they call you and say they can't pay doesn't mean you should just accept that.
Gotcha.
They need to show you proof of that. And this is the most important part to reason why. Although there may not be evictions happening right now, they're going to open that up again.
Yeah, it's not forever. Won't be forever.
Right. And if you start the process, there's a lot of paperwork that has to go into before the eviction, right?
You'll be ready.
Right. You need to have, like, so in New York City, you got to send out a 30-day notice. And then after the 30-day notice, the attorneys get involved. That adds another 30 days, right?
Good gracious.
In Central Florida, if the tenants are sending the checks locally within a certain mileage from the county, it's a 5-day notice.
Mm-hmm.
But if the tenants are sending their rent checks out of state, which is in my situation, they're sending it to New York, then I got to provide an 8-day notice, which is essentially 2 weeks, right? Because it's 8 business days.
Business days.
Right. So, and then after that, the attorney gets involved.
Yeah, we got 5 days here.
You want to get through all that process
fast.
Right. So that when they do open up the evictions, you're right on line, right? You're making it happen like this. There's no delays when they start the eviction process again, right?
Yep.
You still got to go through the process. And if they pay you, then so be it. But if they don't pay you, at least you're there. You're not going to lose another month or 2 or 3 months, right?
You were talking music to my ears. So are you saying that we should file the paperwork outside of this pandemic? Just generally speaking, we file the paperwork if they're late. And if they pay good, if they don't pay, at least we have the paperwork filed. And the process is being pushed forward.
You're not starting the process from the beginning like most other novelist landlords, because the reality is very few professional landlords in the country in comparison to the novelists, the guys who have a 9 to 5 and have 1 or 2 or 3 properties, right?
Way more.
Right. So you don't want to be stuck on line with those guys. You want to be the guys at the head of the line.
Yep. If I were to ask Daniel, I would dare to say that he learned that from the School of Hard Knocks.
Absolutely. Listen, if there's any successful business person, I don't care what business they're in, tells you they never lost money, tell them Dan Borrero said you're a liar. Either you're lying that you're successful, or either you're lying that you didn't lose money.
Either way, you're in it.
Yeah.
I tell my inner circle members, I'm like, file the paperwork. If they say they're going to pay next Friday, just file it. You got it rolling. You need to push that paperwork through. Level up. Does it matter if your lease is month to month, or does that state eviction rule still apply? I think Daniel knows more than that.
So month to month, I love them because essentially by the time you get to court, you don't have the encumbrance of having a more additional time within the existing lease, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that gives you the power to do a holdover, or you could do for instance, very difficult to do holdovers in New York City. But in the state of Florida, New Jersey, holdovers are very easy. And it also gives you so you say, you know what? I'm not here to fight for the money. I'm here to fight because I want them out.
Yeah.
You don't have to give a reason why. And then the money part comes in afterwards, because the judge will say, okay, you got to give him 3 months. All right, no problem. But he owes me 3 months plus now these 3 months. So I'll keep him there, but I want my back pay. And the judge can't tell you, you got to let him stay there for free.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I love month-to-month leases for that reason.
Gotcha.
Plus, I don't hold any of my tenant. My tenant calls me up and there's 6 months left on the lease and they want to get out. No problem.
Yeah.
Just make sure you leave the apartment. I'm not going to hold a tenant in an apartment that they don't want to live in, because then I'm fighting with them. And I'd rather spend my time being more productive than fighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It makes no sense, man.
Scott, he's saying that we still have to file by the 15th, but if we have to make a payment, the payment gets a 90-day extension. Okay, good point. Isaiah, hey, Isaiah.
I'm not sure. I'll believe that since he said it, because I'm not really sure about it.
Hey, Chris, what do you think of doing subject to in a recession? I promise you, it's the best way to buy. We're buying one right now. We're taking over one. I don't want to get into that. Yeah, best way to me, subject to is always the best way to buy, Isaiah, because you're not guaranteeing debt. Okay. Jermaine, Raleigh, I have my IRA, good, and an HSA, nice. Is that what you're referring to regarding putting your money in the other investment market, Daniel? He's got that health savings account and his individual retirement account.
So I'm not a financial advisor. I just started doing an HSA myself a couple of years ago. And I love it because since we're self-employed, the market rates for health insurance are horrible, right? Having said that, the HSA allows me to deduct all my deductibles. So if I remember correctly, and you guys can correct me, but I think it's $8,150 that you could put in within that HSA, and now all becomes deductible. So when I used to go and pay my co-pays at the doctors, that was never deductible. If I pay it through the HSA, it now becomes deductible. If I don't use all of that money that's in there, that $8,150 for the year, it transfers to the next year, but I can still add another $8,150. Now that now becomes again a tax deduction.
Gotcha.
Nice. I personally love it because it decreased my my health insurance costs. because I was never meeting my deductibles anyway with my health insurance, so it didn't really matter. I think HSAs are really good for entrepreneurs, and I think they, but everyone's situation is different. They should speak to their accountants for that. IRAs, I love it because I'm always looking to lessen my tax implication.
That's what the wealthy do, bro. That's just what we do. I mean, either you're gonna make a decision to do it or not.
Right.
Right. Good question, Jermaine. Isaiah, what subject to? We went over that one. Deborah, Chris. Oh, Chris wants to come ride with you while you go buying. Nice. Hell, this is Turning Point that's going to make millionaires. That's true.
This Turning Point is going to make millionaires.
Hawkins. Look at that. Fire Marshal Bill. Since we have you quarantined, may we talk about fire safety? You do have to be quarantined. Our research has shown that 9 out of 10 of American households have smoke detectors that are in need of a new 9-volt battery. I need to check mine. Good God. Do you have somebody to check yours, Daniel? I mean, you got 300 doors.
What we do is we actually send out emails and letters every December 1st. Reminding. That's in the lease. They have to actually change those 9 volts themselves. And I actually go through every apartment and change them every 5 years.
Nice. Thank you for that, Danny. That was a good point. I would feel terrible if I had a problem. I need to go through mine. I don't do mine as often, but
we do ours every 5 years, and we get the carbon and smoke detectors.
You got gas up there?
That's right.
Oil, yeah. We don't have a lot of gas here. I do a lot of mine, Danny. A lot of mine, not a lot, but I do have some Section 8 tenants, so we check those every year.
Well, yeah, it's because the state comes in and does the inspection.
Yeah.
But again, that's something you should be, you should be doing that on your own. You should need the state to come in and tell you that.
Yeah, you're right. But they'll fail it if it doesn't. Bobby, wrap buyers have a lot to lose. In New York, my down payments are no less than $20,000. Nice. TB, what up, TB? Daniel, how do we process the eviction paperwork when the courts are closed? Oh, my Lord.
So you're not processing the paperwork, but you are doing the due diligence. So, for instance, you got to send out that notice, right? So in Central Florida, again, like I said, if they sending their rent payments to you in Florida, it's a 5-day notice. If they're sending your rent payments out of state, like in our situation where we're getting checks from Florida to New York, it's an 8-day notice. Mm-hmm. Now, that 8-day notice, right? I just realized I'm off centered. That 8-day notice is essentially almost 2 weeks because it's 8 business days. So you want to get through that side, and then after that you got to have the attorney start giving the notice with the accounting and everything else that he needs to do, and that he never does that immediately. That takes another 2 or 3 days, right? Yeah. And then by the time they're actually served,
30 days.
Right. So that's the stuff that you want to actually get done.
Gotcha.
So that
you can do
right the items that you could actually do and your attorney could do without having to file yet with the court.
Gotcha.
Now, needless to say, it's come to my attention that in some counties and townships they're still letting you file. They're just not letting you come to court.
They'll just hold it, man. Just hold it, Daniel. They've been doing that they still do that down here. They have a 10-day notice. You can file it. They'll be like, we'll just hold it for 10 days.
Right. Exactly. So you want to get that process done.
Just get it done. Whatever you can do. Is that what you're saying? Whatever you can do.
Whatever you could do without having to encumber the courts that are not going to assist you at this moment.
Nope.
You want to get all that out the way.
Because they're going to ask you if you did it anyway, or you have to prove that you did it.
Precisely. Yeah.
Good one, Williams. Isaiah, I'm doing a subject 2 now. Good for you. Have another this weekend. His concern is, with the trying times, are people not interested in doing rent-to-owns for large down payments? And also, what's the best way to qualify rental income? You're right, Isaiah. I don't think Daniel does. Do you do lease options with down payments?
I don't, because everything I lease, I actually intend on keeping.
You keep it, yeah.
So, however, because again, for me, it's all long-term, right? Cash flow. Mm-hmm. How do I qualify? So it depends. And every realtor that works for me, because I don't show the apartments anymore. Although sometimes about 2 or 3 times a year I'll still go out and do that. just to keep myself sharp. But every realtor that works for me, they get an actual list of items that I want that have to be submitted with that application. And in there, there's a minimal of the last 3 current pay stubs. On those pay stubs, you're going to pretty much have all the information you need.
There you go. Income.
Right. Now, some tenants will say, well, this isn't my only income. I have this that I do on the side. I freelance, whatever that freelancing is. And I'll accept that. No, I'll accept that. Then I got to see the previous year tax returns as proof.
So you got to verify that stuff?
I do. You verify it through the previous year tax returns and through bank accounts.
Gotcha. So I think he wanted to know about down payments. Isaiah, yes, you need to worry about people that do not have, they're going to be holding their money now, right? Like guys like us, we're ready to spend money. The majority of population is going to be holding money, right? Because they're nervous. So yes, you will have to worry about getting down payments in this pandemic that we're going through. Isaiah, it's just part of life. But you don't be one of them. You get out there, we get ready to spend. We got 2 under contract to buy. Like, look, Daniel bought one today. I mean, during the middle of shutting down the government, guys buying houses. That's what you call a true entrepreneur, my friends. That's why you come to the roundup. Good God, you spend the money. Everybody like this. My people doing this. I love it, Daniel.
Why not take,
I love it, man. You know, it's weird. You don't even think about it. I don't even think. I'm like, oh, okay. What do we write? What do we write the check? I mean, what's next? You know, I'm presuming. I mean, that's what your posture is, right?
Pretty much. It's funny. Like I remember my first closing. I was there for 3 hours, and I couldn't sleep for 3 days before and 3 days after. Right. Now I could do 2 or 3 in a day, and it's like, I'm like, what? That's all we did. Do more.
You know, it's weird, Daniel. I don't want to stay here long. I mean, I was telling. Sometimes I talk to my wife. I'm like, it's easier for me to write $100,000 check to buy a house than it is for me to make a decision on what I want on my pizza. It's like, it's so weird. Like, if I want to put a picture up on the wall, I'm like, is it why? I'm thinking, but then if I go buy a house, I'm like, how about you, Daniel?
So my wife came with me to buy my last car, my wife and my youngest son.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there for 8 hours.
Oh my God.
And my wife says, I don't understand. You spend more than that in a condo that you've never even seen in person, only by pictures, and you make a decision in 10 minutes. I said, that's gonna make me money. This is gonna lose me money. I'm not making money with this car.
Daniel, that's why I love talking to you, dude, because you're real deal, man. It's weird. I believe that those are skills that we have just honed over time. I go to closing, I'm like, let's get the cashier's check. We got to do this. But then when it comes to something, it's so weird. And I think that's good.
Yeah, it is. It is and it isn't. Sometimes it's like, there's certain things I have no problem spending money on. When anything to do with business,
I'm good.
Let's do it, man. Even if like a promotional item, I'll try it. If it made me no money, it cost me $2,000 to know that doesn't work anymore. I need to spend $2,000 over here.
Over here, right? That's right.
That doesn't bother me. But if I got to spend money on a car, it gets me angry.
True entrepreneur roundup. Daniel Borrero, guy owns over 300 doors in New York and in Florida, New Jersey. Get your questions in very quickly as we are quarantined in our houses here down in Virginia. Everything. I was in the airport, man. It's just a ghost town. I got my own jet. I had my own hotel. 14 people in the hotel, Daniel.
Oh my God. So basically you were living the dream because you didn't have to wait to get online. And the only thing is I hope you wiped everything down on the plane before you sat down.
Daniel, we walked through the security line in Dallas. No wait, and this is Dallas. It was truly cool, man.
I got to tell you, this is something that I've never experienced. I don't know. It's anybody that could predict where this is going to end up.
No, pretty much, you can't predict that one.
Guessing. That's why we're taking a sit back and wait approach and evaluate before deciding.
Jermaine, Daniel, do you put a portion of your IRA and HSA in mutual funds such as Vanguard to build them?
It's funny you use that Vanguard. Yeah, Vanguard I find to be the best as far as cost factors. They're very efficient. HSA, I do not put them into mutual funds. I don't want to go through the process of selling to have money to pay for deductibles. It's just not worth the time for me. But on the IRA, yeah, I actually use, like I said earlier, I'm not good at investing in the market because I don't put time into it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't interest me. But in times like this, I'll just keep buying on the dips.
Gotcha.
And I'm buying on the S&P 500 fund ETF.
Jessica, hey, where do you find subject to pre-foreclosures? Pre-foreclosures. Jamie, when you have to reinvest from a rehab flip, will buying subject to a lease purchase or owner financing count as an investment back when you put some money down? Yes. Down payment. That's what Ron LeGrand talks about doing a 1031 exchange. Say you make 50,000, then you put, let's just make it easy for me, times 3. Say you made 45,000 on a flip. You take that 15,000 and buy 3 owner finance, and you can roll that over in a 1031 exchange.
Yeah, that's actually, I didn't know he was teaching that, but that's essential to know in the business, 1031 exchanges.
There you go. Jermaine, how many times the monthly rent do you require gross income for your tenants, Daniel?
3.5 times a monthly rent.
3.5 times, yep.
And it also depends where they're at. So if they're in New York, so in other words, so it depends the cost of living factor.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, it's normally 3.5 times across the board, but if you're in New York, I'll raise that up to 4 times because the cost of living is much more expensive in New York. If I'm in Central Florida, I'll do 3.5 times, but I'll look at their credit report. If they got a $500 a month car payment, I'm going to assume the insurance is another $120. Now that brings them down where they can't afford the apartment.
Gotcha.
The way I look at it is this way, and I'm going to tell all of your investors this. When you're in the business of renting an apartment, you are now you become their biggest creditor for the year. So if the rent is $1,000 a month, you're giving them credit for that year for $12,000. Here in New York, the rents are average about $3,000 a month. So I'm giving them credit of $36,000 a year. I want to make sure after all their expenses, they're not going to have any difficulty paying me. And when I figure in their expenses, I'm figuring the average cost per person to eat, their bus fare or public transportation fare to get back and forth to work, their entertainment expenses, their electric, their gas, whatever those utility bills may be, their internet service, their phone bill. I figure all those numbers in, and then I say, okay, they could afford it. And if it's too close, no, they can't afford it. Because now, again, if there's a hiccup, for instance, this situation we're having now, first person who doesn't get paid is me.
Yep. I
don't want to hear those excuses.
Yeah. I think I don't know about you, but for me, being new investors, I let so many bad tenants go in, and all I was doing was hurting them, really.
It's not healthy for either one of you.
All you're doing is hurting them. It's just a matter of time before they don't pay, so.
Precisely.
That's what Chris Birch, sound like you might need the Millionaire Playbook to keep track. Oh yeah, we got the Millionaire Playbook for you, Dan. We'll get you a copy of those so you can have that to carry around with you instead of those scrap pieces of paper. So you can have a note. We'll get you one of those. Round up. This has been fun hanging out with Daniel. Final thoughts, Daniel, on the pandemic and what you recommended for local landlords.
I could barely see what you have up there.
Oh no, this is my subscribe. I want to know your final thoughts on what you recommend for landlords to get ready for this as April rent comes around.
I think each and every case should be treated differently. Mm-hmm. Remember, everyone's situation is a different situation. A lot of people out there, this is a situation that you got to understand this. You got to have a heart. but that doesn't mean that you're going to be a fool either, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a tightrope that you're going to be walking. It's a very fine line, and you got to hope that you make the right decision on a daily basis.
Yeah, each individual. That's gonna be tough, Daniel. You got a lot of people to talk to, bro.
Hopefully not. Hopefully, listen. If I have a tenant that calls me up that I never talk to, guess what? You know what that tells me? That's a good tenant. Because I don't know if I don't know your voice when you call me, you're a good tenant. That means you've never given me a reason to have to talk to you. I'm gonna listen to you. Yeah. Now, if you're that tenant that I know who you are, that as soon as I see the phone, I see the caller ID, I said, "Damn, I don't want to talk to this person." That's the person who most likely is going to get the least companionship from me.
Hey, crazy. All right, Roundup family, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Hit that thumbs up button. I want to know, what are you doing to prepare for this pandemic of rentals possibly coming in or not? And this Corona thing, it's just unreal, man.
It is, and people got to get ready for it. What can I say, man? It's just
we are entered. I try to make myself feel like that I'm independent.
I'm listening. I'm just gonna move this over a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead. I try to make myself. I get on my soapbox and think that I'm independent, but we're all interdependent, Daniel. I can't live without my. He can hear you. What?
Can I say, if you get 1,000 subscribers and change that into cardboard?
We might, yeah, you can tell her that.
Yay, at the end.
All right. We're interdependent, right, Daniel? We can't live without them. They can't live without us. We're no man.
I'm sorry, Chris. I'm not sure if I'm in your frame right now.
No, you're not. What's wrong? Scoot over to the right.
Yeah, okay, there you go. There, I'm back. All right.
So we're interdependent, right? We depend on these people just like they depend on us to give them good housing.
Precisely.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I got. What are you gonna say, Bubba? Hit it.
If you get 1,000 subscribers, Daddy will change the block into cardboard.
You don't like my block? It's too heavy.
You might break your back.
That is.
Oh, no. Your daddy goes and works out every morning, so he don't have to break his back.
He says I work out every morning, so I won't break my back.
Listen, but she loves you. She's concerned about your back.
She is, man. Here,
She's
bro.
a great daughter.
All right, Roundup. I'll see you guys soon. Matter of fact, I'm gonna come back tomorrow. I had a subject 2 deal go to court in Pennsylvania today, and I cannot wait to share with you. Not today, yesterday. Somebody, one of my clients had a previous owner sue them with the subject 2 documents, and you're going to see how this pans out tomorrow. Hopefully he'll come online and be able to share with us. You don't want to miss it. So make sure you hit the bell, Roundup. You got to hit the bell so you know when we will be going live. All right, Rounduppers, I love you. I want to know what you think about the rental market, what's coming up, and what are you doing to prepare? All right, this is Chris Haskins, over and out. Peace.
Just one thing before you go out. When are you going to be posting your Patrick interview?
Oh, the Bet David thing? The what?
Can I tell them
The munch.
about
The merge. Oh, the merch. Well, I know merch.
Yeah.
What is it? Hurry up.
Like,
I'm sorry, Daniel.
when
You talking to the mic.
Wait, what?
It's 9:00. Anyway, yeah. We went, I didn't tell you, we went for like an hour and a half.
Merch
That's huge, man.
So what happened was when we got there, right?
Did you?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
When we got there, I thought we were going to be going at 4, right? But then he had another webinar. We'll do it later. He had another webinar he was doing. So we sat there for about an hour, right? We were just hanging out with Mario, setting up the mics, the camera. He comes in, man, he's huge, big voice. He goes, you know what, man? Take as long as you want. Ask me whatever you want. Let's go.
Really?
We're in there for an hour and a half, dude. We didn't leave till after 7, man.
What?
Listen, you had his full attention for an hour and a half. I got to congratulate you. I'm sure you did a wonderful job. There's no doubt in my mind that you did a great job. And I'm listen, like I told you the night before, I don't know if I was more excited for you than you were excited. You know, I was like, you go, Chris. You know, like matter of fact, I was telling everybody, I know somebody's gonna actually be in the same room with Patrick B. David, face to face. I was like, I'm proud of you, Chris. So congratulations, man.
Yeah, I'm like, when I showed up, you know what? I don't think I was a tad bit nervous, and he isn't the type of guy to, he is a CEO, entrepreneur, but I think he's also entertainer / artist in his craft of delivering content.
Absolutely.
In the frame, let me frame this up, in the frame of maybe like a Beyonce or a Jay-Z, they don't necessarily share the stage too well, per se, so it's not like I was trying to understand where he was going so I could direct him. His delivery, man, is so powerful. And it's almost what really threw me off my game when he told me he makes $900,000 every 2 months on YouTube. So he's really not worried about cash flow. When he hit me with that, man, it really, I'm like, what is my follow-up? My wife liked that one.
You know what, Chris?
Oh, go ahead.
I hope to be interviewing you one day. You tell him you making $90,000 every 2 months.
90? Oh, no.
More?
When the man told me he makes 900.
No, I'm sorry, 900,000. 900,000.
He goes, well, I'm like, Patrick, I want to talk about cash flow. I know you always talk about cash being king. He goes, well, to be honest with you, Chris, I'm not really worried about that. I mean, my YouTube channel, over the last 2 months, we did 900,000. And I mean, I'm worried about what I'm going to do with the money. The cash, I know that's coming in. So it was just like, that's where I can't go. I want to take him to building cash flow, right? Just like I would take you. Daniel, how did you build your cash? When a man's making $455,000 a month on YouTube, forget the business that he's running. Where do I go? That means are you feeling where I'm at with it? If your YouTube is here,
I'm feeling there's an intimidation factor immediately placed on you because, and I got to tell you, I would have been intimidated, and I'm not a type of person who gets intimidated easy.
I know you are.
That
you're a big dog,
right? But physically, he's a very fit man, right? Yeah. Big man.
Jim in the office now. I don't know if I told you, but he's got dude, I got a whole video of it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
And then his accomplishments make him even that more intimidating, right? And now you're interviewing him.
Wealth, power,
right?
Family, assistant, employee, stature, all that is running through your mind. And when he says, well, and I'm talking about building cash flow, he goes, well, I'm not worried about cash flow. I'm like, where do I take them yet? Because my whole life has been building cash flow assets, Daniel. I didn't even know where to go, so I got kind of thrown off my G a little bit. That's all.
Listen, that all gets back to when you and I have had this discussion, how we all need to not mingle with people of our same level as far as financial level, but way above, so that we can learn, right?
Yeah, man.
And I learned this with my kids playing sports, especially with my sons, that when they play up in their what their normal game was, their level of playing got so much better, so much quicker than when they played at their level, right?
Yeah.
And what you're doing by interviewing Patrick is moving up, man.
Oh my Lord, man.
Yeah, which is the right direction, man. Again, I was excited for you, man. I can't wait to see the video.
I thought about you when I'm like, I gotta call my boy up into real estate because he doesn't invest in real estate.
Right.
He stayed there for a while. I'm like, come on, but we went back and forth a little bit. That's the only way that's my ace in the hole with him.
Listen, but again, it's not what he does, right?
Mm-hmm.
For whatever the reason is, listen, we all do what we do best.
There you go.
Right? Whatever we're comfortable with. And that's where he chose to make his fortune in a different arena. and we're choosing to make our fortune in a different arena.
Different areas, man. Different. He wasn't mad at it. Just doesn't. He's like, let me bring it back, and then I'm gonna let you go. Remember the framework we said earlier about the highest, best of the businesses you were doing,
Yes.
pushing on the gas,
Yes.
pushing it. That's what he likes. That's exactly. I'm glad. Okay, now, I'm glad I'm bringing this back around. It took me a while to work this one. You got out of that because you didn't enjoy it, right? So he has this energy. He told me he sleeps 4 hours a night, max 6 hours. He has this energy where he has to do what you don't like to do, right?
Well, I like to do it. My problem was there's got to be a balance, and that lifestyle that I was living within those businesses didn't afford me the balance of spending time with my kids.
With those businesses, okay, gotcha.
So I'm still got my foot to the pedal.
I know you do, but you still. I got you. Yeah, I got you. I see what you're saying.
The difference is, like you, for instance, you're able to conduct your business right now with your child. She's actually learning as we're talking.
Yeah.
She is doing what I was doing when I was a kid without realizing that she's doing it.
Mm-hmm. When
my dad was speaking to the other landlords that used to come to the grocery store for their lunch.
Same thing. So,
that's awesome time that you can never buy back, man. And that's why I wanted to get out of that side of the business.
Yeah. And I think Patrick doesn't have a lot of family time. I mean, he was there. He did a live last night after our interview. He was up to late at night doing a live. He'd already been there since 6 that morning.
Listen, I came back from his from that Volt conference re-energized.
Yeah.
And I came back realizing I got comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I also came back realizing that I had forgotten what I already known.
Yeah, it's good to be reminded.
Right. And one of the things he was talking about, you and I spoke about this, was capitalizing on our relationships.
There you go.
And there was something that was happening the week before in the business between somebody that, because we sell a lot of land and we hold the mortgages for them. And there was somebody who had a land that was encumbered that he wanted to sell. I'm not going to get into the details. And basically, they couldn't do anything with it, right? And Patrick then reminded me about capitalizing on relationships. And I was going crazy writing in my notes. And my brother looked over me and goes, what's going on? I said, I'll tell you later. Well, I came back and I called up actually 3 people that had the same question over the past 3 months, connected them with the buyers, and essentially made the company about $74,000 in total. And it took about 3 weeks.
Wow. That's crazy.
So that conference netted me within 3 weeks, $74,000.
Yeah, worth $2,000-3,000, right? Right.
So essentially, just because he reminded me of something that I already knew how to do, that I've done thousands of times, I just got complacent.
Well, that's how it is when you do something forever, man.
Yeah.
Do something
again. I was excited for you, and I can't wait to see the video, man.
Nice. Okay, Round, let me get out of here. Daniel, good talking to you.
Take care, brother.
Yep, talk to you. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to hit this.
Don't forget, I'm already subscribed.
Subscribe.
But everyone else, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the like button.
I got to deal with this.
And
thumbs up.
The bell.
Pay the bill. Love you.
Take care. Good night, brother.